Wow. Okay. Good evening. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. I was a hungry boy, and I've had a bit of a crazy evening, and the fish that I put in the oven, it took forever to cook. I don't know why. It might have been a little frozen still, but, took longer than I wanted, and I did not budget my time accordingly, so I apologize. But also, man's got to eat. You know what I mean? Welcome to Scouching Live. It is October 27th. It's almost spooky day. Spooky. I'm here. I'm dressed up like a member of the best baseball team in the entire world. Go Jays! World Series Game 3 tonight. Tough loss. Last time around, that was a tough one. I think I told the story on the last episode of a buddy of mine, the in-law, so to speak, the brother-in-law. He texted me. He messaged about, hypothetically, we should go to the World Series, and I went, okay. Sure, maybe. And he texted me the day of game 2 going, hey, so hypothetically, if I were to get tickets to the game, would you want to go? And I looked for what the price on a ticket was, and I reluctantly said no. I did not go because I run a profitable enterprise here, but it's not that profitable, unfortunately, at least not yet. So I couldn't go to the game. I did watch. It seems like he had a great time at the game. Unfortunately, they lost. But it is what it is. You can't win them all. They're just going to win the next 3, and then that's going to be it. I have considered, maybe reaching into the world of debt in order to go to a game later in the series, perhaps if they're back in Toronto. But I won't count my chickens before they hatch. We're not there yet. But go Jays, go! Let's do it. I'm obviously on the bandwagon. I'm on the bandwagon hard. There's no stopping me. There's no stopping the wagon, at least until the World Series is over, and then I'm off, and then it's over, right? But anyway, welcome to the show. Been hard at work, as per usual, grinding away. Who are the guys? Let's see. Who are some of the guys that we've taken a look at lately, and then we'll go from there. Maybe we'll work in backwards chronological order. How about that, huh? We did Adam Nemec today. He was really good. Joe Aginla, he was quite interesting. Ola Palme, Swedish defenseman, he is okay. I tried to do a Viktor Fyodorov game, but the game I downloaded, the frame rate was about 2 frames a second for the whole thing, and I felt sick to my stomach after about 2 seconds, so I skipped that one, and we went on to Ola Palme. I did Malte Gustafsson before. He was also interesting. Who else have I done? Reese Jameson, Everett Silvertip's kid. Oliver Suvanto. I did another game of him. He was quite something. Did a game of Gleb Pugachev. We could talk about him if you want. Someone asked, I saw in the comments, about Carson Carrolls. I did a game of Carson Carrolls, and he certainly played a lot of minutes. Before that, I did a game of Kasper Justovara Karlsson, who is quickly becoming one of my favorite players in this entire draft. Before that, Alisher Sarkinov, or did we do this one already? Sarkinov, who else did we do? Okay, yeah, so maybe Sarkinov was the first one after, because I remember mentioning my favorite Malian of all time outside of Mansa Musa Hackert, who is a Malian in Germany. I mentioned him last show because we did a game of his. But since Thursday, that's been what I've been up to, and we're going to keep the train going. It's almost the end of October. Every league is in full swing, and hard at work, just grinding through all these names and working through it, and making a list that hopefully people are curious about and enjoy. We've had a lot of fun in the server, watching some guys. We haven't done so in a little while. We should probably do that again soon, but having a lot of fun, and sharing the church of various players on this list. So there's that, lots to look forward to, and lots of fun. Obviously, if you want to help us out directly, you can check out subscription at scouching.ca. You get access to all kinds of fun little data tools you won't find anywhere else. Tons of other, we got a Discord server to join, and it's a lot of fun. There's plenty of things that you can do over there at various tiers. I am going to be adding a demo version of some of the trackers that I have to the website as well. So if you want, at the lower tier, you'll get a little bit more access to sort of the work that I do. I just have to build those tools, and then I'll put them up. But in any case, it's a lot of fun. You should check it out, and yeah, we'll go from there. Oh, I just realized that my ranking is wrong here. That should fix it. I think that fixes that should fix it. Maybe not. Oh, you know why? Because I have to do this. Yeah, maybe that fixes it. Maybe not. No, it fixed it. No, wait, no, it didn't. Why didn't it fix? Oh no, it did. Okay, there we go. Okay, yeah, it's fixed. Okay. No more distractions, huh? No more distractions. We're all set. We're, as Jodie Foster says in Contact, we're okay to go. We're okay to go. And my stream for the game just died. Nice. I love when that happens. That's my favorite. But anyway, just chaos. Also Liam Steele, a point a game in the NIHL, elite. I mean, it was never in doubt, honestly, you know. Shout out Liam Steele. Shout out Stansted College. You know, I don't know where else to go with this. I'm also distracted here. All right. Wow, this is the greatest show I've ever done. This is just incredible, eh? Okay. So, let's just jump right into it, eh? This hat is also very warm. I think I might take it off. The thing about my basement, not that anybody asked, the thing about my basement is that it is often very cold in the summer, which is great, but it is very warm in the winter. I'm not sure exactly why that is, but it is. All right, there we go. I got one going here. Okay. No comment on how I'm doing this. I'm not going to comment on that. But anyway, yeah, I'm going to lose the hat. All right. Let's just... Okay. Wow, this is just chaos for 10 straight minutes, eh? How about that? I hope you're enjoying. You know, I hope this is a good way to spend your Monday evening. All right, let's get into this. Let's just go. You know what? I need to reset here. I've got my beverages all set up here. You know, I'm feeling good. I bought some, if you want to see something fun that happened to me today, I bought some Qualcomm stock like 2 weeks ago or something, a week and a half ago. Went to the moon today, by luck, by chance. I had no inside knowledge whatsoever, but them's the breaks. Once in a while, you catch a lucky break, and I got one. So a good day for me. But anyway, questions, right? We'll keep up with the chat from here. We're gonna get serious. This is a serious enterprise, right? Are you surprised at how quickly Arseny Grutziuk has adapted to the NHL? You called that one a long time ago. I mean, I am surprised, honestly, that he has become like an NHL player at any point. I liked him when he was draft eligible, but I couldn't say I had like a certain level of certainty, right? Like it wasn't like he was ranked 17th on my list that year, right? I just liked him a lot, and he was a very curious, skilled guy that I liked, and you know, he's worked out really, really well so far for New Jersey. I mean, I think a lot of it is also the New Jersey, from the games that I've seen of them, is they've looked really good. Like, as a unit and as a group, like, I think they have a group of players that around a guy like Grutziuk could also really, really work well. And I think that that's a really good example of how synergy can work. I like Grutziuk, I really do, and I'm really glad he's become a player. Obviously, it makes me look smart, so I agree with it. And so yeah, we're good to go. I'm ready for launch. We're launched with him, and I hope it sticks, because he's always been a fun player to watch. And yeah, I'm optimistic. You know, fingers are crossed, hopeful, and let's keep the train going. Any updated thoughts on Nick Lardis? I know you were skeptical of him, but he's transitioning to pro well. Does he have top 6 upside, or is he more of a depth goal scorer? Well, I mean, I honestly haven't seen much of him with Rockford, if anything. I don't remember. But I mean, I still feel like the points are not the issue with him. A lot of it comes down to overall defensive play. And I mean, there was never really any doubt that he can put the puck in the net, right? Like, I know he has some assists this year, but like, you know, in terms of offensive zone talent, I watched him last year. We did a video room on him. There was a lot of requests for him. And I mean, there's good stuff about his game. But he's one of these guys that is just, in my world, is very heavily balanced towards play in the offensive zone. And to me, in terms of value and NHL output, like, that's, you know, he's going to require a supporting group and everything. I mean, where they drafted him made sense at the time. I might have had him ranked a little bit higher than where they drafted him. I'm not doing the top button up. I'm not that serious. I'm not doing the top button. And yeah, I mean, I'm all the best for him, right? And I think the good thing about Chicago is they have a lot of guys on the roster who could surround him. Who could surround him and enable him to produce offensively, right? Like you put him on a line with Oliver Moore and Anton Frondel. I'm sure those three guys would really balance each other really, really well, and you could let Lardis sort of be offensive. It's a matter of like situation with him, right? So it's like, for me, a lot of my work, it's like I prioritize guys where it's like, it does not matter the situation. This player will be impactful no matter what. That's the ultimate goal. With Nick Lardis, it's like there's definitely areas where you have to be able to go, all right, I know what I'm getting out of this guy, and I need to augment the lineup to make it work, but it could work. So, depth goal scorer, second unit power play, maybe top unit shot threat on the power play, maybe. I guess you could say that could work, but I think there are still gaps in his game. But, he's a video room subject for this year. We're going to get those going relatively soon. And he's going to be a subject of one because, yes, he has jumped to the AHL and been productive. I want to look into that. I want to see for myself what's going on there. And at the end of the day, he's productive, and that's not unexpected. But I would, I'm curious to see how he looks for sure. To take a closer look, I should say. Maybe he'll be one of the first ones because lots of people ask about him. Any Carson Carroll's viewings? Yes, I did him on Friday. He played a ton. I mean, I think in that game it took him a little while to get going. But boy, he looked good. I kind of started the game a little bit hesitant. He was looking like similar to how I felt about Brian Lynn when I saw him, where there's a lot of definite offensive tools and all these things. But I think with Carroll's, there's a lot more believability to his puck carrying ability, driving up the ice. There's a lot to his game that I thought I really liked, and these little playmaking moments, on offensive rushes and stepping up into the offensive zone, slipping the puck around defenders, puck protection. Like, there was a lot of things about Carroll's that I really, really liked, and the data came out looking really, really positive on him. I felt that he, covered his tracks relatively well. Like, I'm not comparing them apples to apples, but like there was similar vibes to like a Matthew Schaefer there, where it's very sort of skating first and not the most physical guy in the world, but that's because he kind of doesn't need it. The defensive awareness, I'm not sure is quite on the same level as a Schaefer. The skating ability is not on the same level of a Schaefer, but that like offensive, confidence and that ability to take control of play himself, there's a lot of that in his game that I like. And I'm the type of person who's cynical. And so after the first period or so of that game, I'm sitting there going like, I don't know about this. But then I think as things started rolling and as the game kept going and he got more minutes and whatever, stretched his legs, I don't know what, he really seemed to sort of take over and take good steps and play really well and drive a lot of really good results for his team. So really intriguing player. I have him ranked in my first round. Obviously, I really liked what I saw. And I'm going to see what else is up when I see him again in the next little while. Like, I like him. He was pretty solid. Have you had a chance to see Alexander Zhuravsky play? I've only seen highlights, but he looks really good in those highlights. I mean, that's Alexander Zhuravsky, baby. I mean, he is on that. He's the Ghost Rider flaming skeleton on the motorcycle going off the jump, Thelma and Louise style. Like, that is Alexander Zhuravsky. Like, he is a rock and roll superstar who, you don't know what you're going to get out of him sometimes, but he is a really, really talented player. Like, there's no denying the raw talent in his game. Really the only question mark for me, again, last year, it's a hard one to get over, and we're facing, in my opinion, the same issue to a more extreme, I would say, a more extreme example probably is Viggo Sorensen in Sweden, who I really, really like. And Zhuravsky, it was, I saw the skill level really early last year. I saw the fun factor. He brought great joy to the sport, right? And you can go back and look on my report. There's no shortage of really, really impressive moments out of him in that video, right? Like he was one of the more creative, purely skilled players in the entire draft class. And I've said this many times, especially even when Montreal drafted him, they said they had him at 17. I totally see why. I disagree with it. I personally was a little more skeptical because the level that he played at is really, really questionable. But that doesn't mean he was bad. And I think the Habs took a bit of a risk in terms of where they had him on their list. But it worked out for them. I mean, drafting him at 34, considering who was on the board, there wasn't many guys in terms of skill and upside and fun factor that I would have rather gone with. And so, super skilled, super fun to watch, tons of talent. And I'm glad. I mean, I haven't seen a ton of them with the KHL team this year. But, I think in retrospect, one of the mistakes I might have made last year is not watching more of him in the KHL at the end of the year to get a better grasp of him at that level. I probably should have done that, so maybe lesson learned. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I still feel like I had a pretty good read on just how much fun and how much talent there was in his game. He was in my second round, and I very easily could see why Montreal would have drafted him where they took him. Any precious donuts for dessert? The only dessert that I want is a Toronto Blue Jays win. That's all I want. That's all I ask for. It's not that big of a deal. I'm not asking for much. Just beat the most expensive team in baseball. That's it. Or are they still? Or is that the Mets? I feel like Juan Soto single-handedly is the most expensive team in baseball at this point, but I don't know. But that's all I want. It's not that hard. I wish I had donuts. There's some great donut shops right around me. But that's also a scary thing to think about. I shouldn't be going there too often, but there are some good ones. But at the end of the day, no, there are no donuts. We are prepared for Halloween on Friday. We have our junk. Lots of kids live in the neighborhood. We usually get, a solid amount, and we're expecting a solid amount this year. So there's a solid amount of junk food in the house. But I will say, credit to me and the better half, we haven't broken into it ourselves. We haven't gotten high off our own supply, which, I mean, I don't know about any other adults in the room who have kids that come to their door. If you have a door, if you don't have a door, I'm sorry. That sucks. I'm sorry. That's too bad. I hope things improve. But assuming you have a door and children can come to your door and knock on it and go the trick-or-treat thing and whatever, and you have candy in the house and you don't touch it until the kids get it first, then good for you. I think that's a commendable thing. It's very easy for adults, especially adult children like myself, to dig into the supply before the children get to it. Because, why grow up? Growing up is overrated, Thoughts on Eddie Yenborg? I mean, he's off to a ripping start in the SHL, man. I mean, watching him last year, it was pretty obvious that you could see an NHL player there of some kind, right? I mean, you look at him and he's got, I think, 6 goals and 3 assists this year. He started off really hot. Like his first few games, he had a point or more, I think, in each of those games. But, things have slowed down a little bit, but that doesn't take away the quality of the season that he's had. And he's been good, but I mean that in the sense of what he is as a player should translate just fine. He was in my top 40. He was in my first round for periods of last year because he's just that big, physical, sort of solid skating guy who doesn't really back down from a physical challenge. He doesn't shy away from contact against adults. He goes to the net. He does everything an NHL coach will ask him to do. And strikeout. Vintage Max Scherzer strikeout right there. Bada bing, bada boom. But yeah, I mean, I didn't expect this kind of production out of him right away. But I mean, it does make sense in a way where the way that he plays, you put him with the right surroundings, you give him some toys that can help him, help him play with. And then at the end of the day, you give him some scoring chances and he can bury them. He's a dirty areas of the ice type guy. So it makes a lot of sense. And yeah, good for him. It's a good season. Wings fan here. Emmett Finney seems like he's actually legit. Tell you you're right. Thanks. You're right, Darren. You nailed it. Emmett Finney is the greatest player to ever play NHL hockey. I don't know. He has been. Look, the thing I love about the Emmett Finney story in Detroit is it's a great example of finding a job for a player that really works with the line. Like, I think that that's the sign of a good coach for now. I'm sure all coaches have their shelf life, but it is a little microcosm that I think is a good sign of a good coach, where you take a guy who's kind of outside the box. It's like, really? Like, Emmett Finney? He hasn't played an AHL game, really. He hasn't having much of he just played junior hockey, and like he's a 7th round pick and like all this stuff, and you're throwing him in the lineup and on the first line. Like, you gotta be thinking outside the box for that to be the option, right? The thing you want to do, let alone seeing it so far work. And so we'll see if it sticks. The season is long, lots can change. We'll see where it goes, but can't take it away from Detroit. They found something that works for now, and it's a 7th round pick that they got out of nowhere. And he has become a first-line NHL player faster than I would imagine, literally any human being on the planet thought. And I think if you thought he'd be a first-line winger at 20 years old and that he'd stick there, assuming he will stick there, you're probably lying. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but you're probably lying. So good for him. David Phillips is here. Good evening, David. What's going on, sir? Curious on your thoughts on NHL draft reentry and high-end prospect Ilya Ivanov. I don't know who that is. It sounds like a real enough name that you're not pulling my leg here. Are we talking the 05 who's playing in the 3rd division in Belarus? Because he's probably the greatest player that ever existed. If he's over a point a game in the 3rd division of Belarusian hockey, I don't know what you're expecting, really. I don't know what more you want out of a hockey player. Belstal Zlobin probably will retire his number before the end of the season. It's an incredible story, and I'm surprised more people aren't talking about it. I guess it's only hitting the local papers in Zlobin, Belarus. It's probably a government-approved story at this point in that country, so good for him. I can't help myself because you've mentioned him, but I will go and watch him. But I think you might be messing with me to make me do work that I don't really have to do. Have you seen much of Ryder Cali? If so, early opinions. The answer to your question is not yet. I know of his existence. Ryder Cali. He is right, North Bay Battalion. I have not seen him yet, but I will check him out. He has been on my list to take a look at. I don't think I've ever seen him before. He was an OJHL guy last year, so I wouldn't have seen him. Bobuchet, base hit. Let's go. Yeah. Played at the World Junior A, but I didn't see much of that tournament last year. But I'll check him out. He's from Penetanguishene, Ontario. Shout out Penetanguishene. I love that city. Well, is it a city or a town? I'm going to ask Google. Is Penetanguishene a good place to live? Is Penetanguishene a federal prison? Is one of the, or city? Penetanguishene is, no, I don't want to try AI mode on Google. Penetanguishene is a town. Okay, so it is categorized as a town, Simcoe County, Ontario. I was out there last year in the spring, and it was actually really, really nice. It's a nice spot in the province. Ontario's got some nice corners. It's a nice place to be. But I'll check it out. Maybe Penetanguishene is really making some elite players. The Penetang Flames, man, they know what they're doing. Any thoughts on Georgios Pantelis from Brandon? Pantelis? Yeah. I didn't think too much of him. I think he's an intriguing development case. Like, he played a perfectly inoffensive style of hockey that I just, he's big and he's decently mobile, but he still feels a little bit awkward on his feet. The mobility with him is a little bit questionable. I see why. Where was he on Central Scouting's list here? Let me see. Pants. Georgie Pants. He was a B rating. I can see that. I see why he would be a B for Central Scouting. You got to be a little bit careful. I believe he had a 5-point game to start the year, or 5 points through his first 2 games. But the point is, oh goodness. Nice. All right. Don't know about that one there, Blue Jays. Oh, Rob Lowe, you're a Canadian, brother. Oh, well, what can you do? But yes, Pantelis, I don't know. I thought he was okay. I'll check him out again. I'll watch him in a bit, but like he's not a huge priority for me to check back in on. I could see him being a decent third line, a decent sort of third pair defenseman that can sort of, but that's not really a priority to me. Like a decent player, but we'll check him out again. I just felt like there were some gaps and issues that, are a project and sort of a development case, but a decent one at that from what I've seen. Thoughts on Nils? Oh, man. These names, man, they're getting sketchy to me. I know my Latvians, but I don't know this one. Nils Maskalans, he's a real okay. Yeah, okay. So we're talking NIHL. You know what? Maybe I should be watching more NIHL, I mean, Britain is not nobody in hockey. They're a world championship quality place, and we're all watching Swedish second division hockey, so why not British second division hockey, right? I mean, how bad can it be? The Romford Raiders, good team full of good players. Weird that in 2023 he played in the Scottish Under-19 League for the Belfast Giants, which are definitely not in Scotland. But, I don't know. This guy's probably not great in terms of NHL quality. Probably better than me, though, if he's playing EIHL or NIHL hockey. Maybe this is a good prospect for the EIHL one day. You might be a true Cole Shudra, a true, not quite Liam Kirk, but let's see. Who else comes to mind? No, I mean, just Cole Shudra for some reason. That's the only one that's coming to mind for me. Liam Steele, might be the next one of those. On November 2nd, the Jets will play the Penguins with Brad Lambert and Ben Kindle on the ice. At the same time as they're concerned the universe will implode to the sheer amount of prospect talent. I mean, probably not any larger odds than the odds of that just happening naturally. The universe could implode at any given moment, really, if you want a bit of existential dread. It's very unlikely, and scientifically speaking, I don't believe that the science says that that's a particularly likely outcome of the universe. But if anything, the universe ending in real life is probably going to be even more depressing, where everything just sort of like expands and goes dark and just everything just kind of stops. And like all that is left in the universe is like black holes, or not even black holes. They're going to evaporate because of Hawking radiation, Black holes will all disappear. You're looking at like every proton in the universe decaying into quarks and photons flying around that carry no energy, and it's just a black empty chasm. It's like, part of me would rather have there be a little bit of fireworks at the end, the Futurama style universe birth and death and all of that, the rebirth and all that stuff. But unfortunately, I don't think Futurama was necessarily a scientific journal style of animated program. But to answer your question, no, I don't think it's gonna implode, but you never know. You never know. I feel like if maybe they hit each other, I think if they hit each other, then maybe you'll have a, if they hit each other, you might have a antimatter matter situation where you kind of get, annihilation, and then they both just disappear on the ice. And that would make me very sad because I love both of those players. But at the end of it, at the end of the day, I'm just really happy they're both in the NHL. Ben Kindle still with the Pittsburgh Penguins. I am shocked, honestly, based on how much I loved him last year. But how much I didn't expect this though. So I'll take it. I like him. I just like him. By the way, Wiggle Sorensen this week's I just like him award. I think the Scouching Discord server, we spread the gospel a little bit, and I don't know if there are any members in here, but if they are, feel free to back me up or not. But that was an entertaining evening to say the least. Thoughts on Thomas Horenko? I love him. I saw Nemec today. And it's really cool because you get to see Nemec on a line with Horenko, and so you see them. I've seen them a lot watching both of them, and the skill is really good with him. I think he's really smart. I think he's smart enough to play center. I think he's got enough good puck vision, offensive zone awareness, all kinds of things, defensive zone awareness. He's got all the right foundations to be a good center. I think the skating needs to be a little bit better. I think he needs to be a little more explosive, a little more physical at times. Little things here and there I think that you need to tweak, but I really, really like him. And in both games I've done of him, he's just done a really good job generating really, really good results, getting scoring chances, generating scoring chances, and having a guy like Nemec on the wing with him, it's a really, really cool balance, and two young guys playing together. It's really interesting. So I like him a lot. He's in my first round, just at the tail end there. I think he's a good player, and I'm excited to watch more of him. Everyone hide your cough drops. Yeah, you know what? I don't know if I don't need the cough drops anymore because I'm an adult and I don't go to summer camp anymore, so I can just go to the store and get whatever I want. So your cough drops are safe. It's okay. Don't worry. Actually, I have plenty upstairs anyway, so I can just, get out of my basement, out of my dungeon down here, and just go upstairs and get them anytime I want, really, because I'm an adult and that's what adults do, or can do, I should say. But generally those are reserved for actual illness, like they saved my life during COVID there for a little while. I don't know. That was not a fun time. So, again, we just have the Halloween junk if we really wanted to dig into that, but we've refused so far, but don't worry, your cough drops are safe. Michael Misa goal celebration time. Yeah, dude, Michael Misa goal, a little tap in from in front of the net. Happy camper. But you know what? That's what Michael Misa does. He's not the sniper. He just finds a bunch of ways to score. And they don't ask how, they ask how many, and he managed to tap one in. Huge week from the San Jose Sharks. Macklin Celebrini. It's funny, I was talking to my dad today, and my dad and I have a hockey pool. We're part of a hockey pool with his neighbors out where he lives. And he was talking, I looked at the results of the team. We're in the top third of the league. It's great. So far, so good. But the player that has done the most legwork for us is Macklin Celebrini, which I didn't expect coming into the season. And he was like, oh, who is this? Like, who is this player? And I go, oh, he's the new kid in the league. I'm like, he's 19 years old. And my dad goes, he's what? I'm like, yeah, he's 19. He can't even drink in the state in which he plays. He's like, that's interesting. He's like, what's the story with that kid? And I'm like, well, he turned 19 in June. He goes, so even my father, who is not the biggest hockey fan, was very, very impressed with the success of recently of the San Jose Sharks, mostly for selfish purposes in the hockey pool that we participate in. So, one step at a time, right? Anyway, do you have a good idea of what the academic competencies are of the people working in front offices when it comes to statistics and data science? I think it depends on the team. There are definitely, I think, like every team now has a staff that is very, very skilled in that area. With regards to like general managers, I don't know. I don't think like Bill Guerin has a degree in stat science. Maybe he does. I don't know. But they do exist. Like Eric Tulsky is a PhD biomechanist biochemist. I think he's a genius. He's a smart guy. So he knows whatever there is to know about that subject. So there is plenty of data literate people in hockey now. If you want to work as a data scientist or data engineer on an NHL team, you better know basic principles of, mathematics, machine learning, simulations, how to understand. Oh God. Jeez, what a dinger. Oh my God. All right. What was I talking about? Yeah, like you definitely need a basic understanding of like statistical significance and how to manage giant databases. I mean, I've seen some of the data sets that NHL guys work with, and it's mind-boggling. Like the data engineering work in hockey is crazy. I've seen some of it, and I don't know what to do with it. I don't claim to be an extraordinarily incredible data scientist in that sense of like managing enormous databases and all that stuff. I just work with what I've got and what I can create. But at the end of the day, there is a lot of that for sure. There's a lot of that out there. There's a lot of that out there, and I really, really, I have a lot of respect for those people. They are extremely smart. They are extremely well trained, but as far as I can tell, and it's a really awesome sort of growing side of the business. I mean, you didn't ask this, but you followed up. I want to assume they're highly qualified, but I'm aware of the inefficiencies in actual research. So I always wonder if I could run circles around them. Well, I can't speak to your own experience or capabilities. I don't know. But I would say that I like the thing that's interesting about this kind of thing in hockey is that there are definitely competent people in these fields, right? There's no doubt about that. I've met them. I know a lot of them. They are smart and very, 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 very well-trained, capable data scientists, computer engineers, whatever. They know their work. Everybody would love to work in sports. These are the people who get those jobs, right? The teams can pick whoever they want, basically. And the thing about them oh my God, I lost my train of thought. Thinking too much about the Jays. The thing that's the separating factor is like how much they're incorporated into the decision making, right? Like, I think it's a very fine line. And I think the thing that, when I was in Columbus last year at their hockey analytics conference, they had a panel of data analysts for teams and everything. And they talked about this a little bit, like what their job is. And the job has kind of evolved a little bit from being like the team nerd to the team, like, guide me in the right direction, right? Like, it's not necessarily like the general manager asking them for like, we need a left winger, who do we get? It's more like the general manager being like, we need a physical, left winger. We can play on the third line that won't cost more than this or this or this. And they need to be able to do this and this. Go find me some guys that might be available, right? So it's more tailored to like the direction of the team a lot of the time, more so than like they are their own sort of momentum driving group, right? Sometimes it depends on the team. It just all depends, right? There's 32 teams. There's no playbook on how exactly to do it. Different teams do things differently. And it all just sort of comes down to the management team and how they want to incorporate everything. There are some teams that are definitely way more involved in way more areas, and there are some that are not. But I don't think there's any teams left that don't have any kind of academic data science group of any kind on their roster. Is there really that much separating Verhoff and Reed? I mean, I see where you're coming from. Chase Reed is really, really, really good. I like a lot of what he brings to the table. Verhoff is also very, very, very good. Verhoff has the advantage of being a lot younger than Chase Reed. He also is in a much more difficult level of competition. And I think with him, I think Reed is maybe a better puck carrier. Like he's a better transporter through the neutral zone. I think his defensive, neutral zone defensive awareness is a little bit better. But in terms of like that playing through chaos, projectable thing that you need for NHL level play, there's a little bit more to chew on with Verhoff.
But I do see where you're coming from. I mean, Reed for me is in my top 10. And I don't see him being much lower based on the guys later than him. And I really was surprised the first game I tracked of him, and I've been really surprised watching him this year at how much I've liked him. And I feel like him and Albert Smits, I feel like those guys are really close. But I don't know about Verhoff and Villeneuve. Like, those two guys are really, really, really talented. And I think that the next two guys, especially Reed, are just rock solid hockey players. He just a lot of the time is not screwing up. And I could easily see him being in that group maybe with Villeneuve and Verhoff. So maybe there isn't a ton separating them now that I'm thinking and getting more into this, but I'm not there yet. I see where you're kind of coming from, but I'm not quite there yet in my mind. But I do like both of those guys a lot. I think it more might be like over time, maybe those two guys converge, like they're both, I might have had Verhoff a little too high and Reed a little too low, and they might end up very close. But yeah, I don't think there's too much separating them, but they bring different things in different areas. Who has surprised you the most positively and negatively impact wise? I'd say positively, Ethan Belchet's, honestly. It might be Belchet's. Maybe, I didn't expect it to like Vertiz Fensk as much as I do. Kasper Justavara Carlson in this SHL this year has been a riot to watch. I did not think that he was going to be in the SHL this year, let alone like playing good minutes and playing pretty well. So those definitely surprised me positively. Negatively, not that many guys have like disappointed me, so to speak, but Ryan Rubrek is one for sure that I just, every time I see him, I see other guys bringing more to the table, and he just keeps tumbling down the list. I thought I'd see more out of Oscar Holmertz that I would really like this year. I liked him a lot last year, and I just haven't seen the same level of skill and dynamic play and skating ability and confidence out of him this year that I did last year. But I'm not giving up on him. I won't give up hope. It's been a while since I've seen him, so it's about time I circle back on him. Sandy Koufax is at the game. Wow. Dang, one of the GOATs. Even I know that. Given your job requires you to either look at a computer or phone screen for a large amount of time every day, how do you avoid screen time issues affecting your eyes and burnout? That's a very good question. I think a lot of it is I'm used to it. It's been years. I've been a degenerate for like 20 years. As soon as I got my own laptop, I've pretty much been a degenerate. So a lot of practice. But in all seriousness, I work down here. There's no light. I don't know if this is going to be weird. But this is an insight into how I work. And you asked, so I'm going to give you an honest answer. I turn the lights out, and I have my screens here not 100%, but like dimmed a little bit. But I've got Philips Hue light bands or like light strips behind my monitors, like attached to behind my monitors, and I put them on. Like, I spent some time and tried to find a color scheme that felt relaxing, and I've settled on like a navy blue, sort of powder blue turquoise for a backdrop above my monitors. And I think that sort of gives me more, like, it makes me less tired looking at things, like the darkness in the room and just having everything a little bit dimmer and no real like natural light that's like the sun reflecting off stuff or whatever. That I think helps a lot. And so that's worked. But I do spend a lot of time staring at screens, dark mode, everything. I don't know if Google Chrome does this, but Perplexity Comet, which is their new browser, has automatic dark mode for any website. so you can just toggle it for anything. So if I am feeling a little bit, I'll just like Google Sheets, go to dark mode. It's a little bit ugly. Google Sheets dark mode in that mode looks gross, but if I need to, I'll deal with it temporarily. But generally, also with the way I size my monitors, or size my windows, like when I do my work, the way I size my monitors or the windows, I don't really have a ton of like white blaring at me. Like I've got some sites open that are black in the background, so that doesn't really make a difference. And my tracking document is actually really small. Like it's like on the screen, it might be like this big. So there's not that much really that's like blaring in my eyes. I tried to minimize. So there's a lot of that. Yeah. I hope that helps. Yeah. Did you suspect Macklin Celebrini would look as good as he is right now when you were watching him in his draft year? I mean, kind of. Like, I figured that with more development and strength, like, he was only going to get better. Like, it's how I feel about a guy like Jack Hextall this year. Like, I don't think Jack Hextall is Macklin Celebrini, but in terms of style of play, they're kind of similar. He just doesn't have the finishing ability that Celebrini did. But how smart he is and how good of a sort of glue guy he is, the better you are in terms of baseline talent, the better you're going to be. And so if you continue to get stronger and faster and whatever, you're going to get better. So for Celebrini, I mean, we'll see what happens over the next little while. I mean, he's on a ripping hot streak, and we'll see where he's at 20, 30, 40 games into the season. But I thought he was going to be a really good NHL player, like a first-line center, maybe an extraordinarily good second-line center on a contending team. Just because of how reliable he is as a player, like how smart he is. And there's just so much that he does that's really, really good. And the good thing about the Sharks is they have that offensive supporting cast. They have those guys that can help boost things. They can help him do what he does. They can add to his point totals, right? Like those guys can really do that. So yeah, I mean, it's great. What a pitch from Tyler Glasnow. Gee whiz. This guy's been terrorizing me forever watching baseball. He was with the Rays for a while and just not a nice man. Not a nice man for me as a Toronto person. Did you suspect? Oh, no, we did that. Axel Elofsson thoughts? Dude, I want to like him so bad. He's fun to watch. He's a very aggressive offensive defenseman. I just don't think it's going to work. Like the skating ability is, for a guy like him, it needs to be like elite. He's got to be the most mobile guy on the ice. He's got to be able to cover ice really well. If he's going to play that confidently and pinch into the offensive zone like he does, to project, he's got to be really good on his feet, and I don't think he's quite there. He was pretty passive defensively, was pretty leaky in his own end, just things that don't add up super well in my experience, but I want to like him. He's a fun player to watch. When he's really going, he really gets himself involved in the game, and it's really exciting. I just don't know if there's enough there. Like he's kind of a lot further down my list than I thought he would be at this point. But I want to be optimistic. So we'll see where he's at. He's pretty young. He's not like a late 07 or anything. So we'll see where he goes from here. But yeah, I've been pretty down on him, unfortunately. But time will tell. There are bits of his game that I like. I just don't know if it's going to work at higher levels. Now that you've please. Yeah, I did see Joe Iginla. Yes. He was one of the last guys I saw today. I liked him. The thing about Joe Iginla is, again, he's like another one of these development cases. I talked about this on the show last week, and we put the short out, or the clip of it today, talking about like in my mind, the ideal sort of NHL scouting staff, which, I got some texts today about that from people. I love hearing from people about stuff and talking about what I'm saying. But part of the discussion there was about physical development and trying to gauge physical development from an outside perspective. And the biggest things you can think about are, number one, physical appearance. That's a big one. If they just look super young for their age, you could bet that there's development left to go, which seems perfectly reasonable. And they're young, like the actual youth. and the size relative to siblings or adults in the family. And in Joe Iginla's case, like, I think he checks all of those boxes, right? Like, he's 5'10". He does get pushed around a little bit, I think, too much. Like, it's really hard to project him to the NHL as he is now, but he is very young. He's a very young birthday. And I love how he plays. There was nothing wrong with how he plays. Like, he's got like that like tenacity, the grit, the sort of puck possession ability. He is pretty smart. You know, he makes plays under duress really well, which is something that I look for a lot. But I just, similar to Ellefson, like, but for different reasons, I don't know if it's going to project. But at least in his case, like, he has the advantage of, like, I can see evidence that there's physical development left in his runway. And there's ingredients there that I liked. So for now, like, he's a watch list guy for me. Like, I don't have him ranked, but he's on the watch list because I don't want to forget about him. Like, I don't want to not prioritize him. I want to get more looks and not forget about him. But I mean, definitely a guy where it's like, if he stays 5'10" for the rest of his career, I'm not sure it's going to work just based on how he plays. But, you know, maybe. I mean, maybe. It's not impossible. But for what I'm looking for in a guy that's that small, I think there's some missing links there. But, you know, at the end of the year, if he's measured at 6 feet tall or 6'1" and doing the same things he's doing on the ice now, and he's a little more skilled and whatever, then sure, I have all the time in the world for a guy like Joe Iginla. Really interesting player, but a lot of question marks that are tough to get a read on this early. Gentle reminder, Herman Truff is on a 10-game point streak. Will it last for the rest of his career? What do you mean only time will tell, David? You know the answer to this. The answer is yes, man. The power of Herman is never going to stop. The Herman train is like the Snowpiercer train. They should reboot that movie and just call it Herman. That's what I want. Because Herman Truff is the man. And I believe that you and I were the only people in the world that had him in the first round that year. I could look that up, but I'm not gonna, because you and I are pals, and it makes us look smart. So I'm just going to stick to that. But yeah, he's again similar to what's his name? Similar to, oh man, where is it? Yeah, similar to like Nils Moskowitz. He's probably the greatest player to ever live. You know, really giving Ilya Ivanov a run for his money. You know. If you were an NHL scout and you were forced to have to work in a local region, which one would you pick? Sweden, Scandinavia. I love it there. I haven't been in a long time, but I mean, someone as libbed up as me, I love it in Scandinavia. If I could get an entrepreneurial visa for Sweden, I'd be packing up and moving to Helsingborg or Malmo or something in a heartbeat. That's where I want to be. Other than that, I mean, it would be kind of cool to maybe be stationed in like rural France and just fly to places from there. It's a very beautiful place in the middle of nowhere in France, but that doesn't seem very logistically logical. But definitely not, I don't think in Canada. That wouldn't be my first choice. I would definitely prefer to be over in Europe for both lifestyle, geographic, and work-life balance reasons. Sweden's the first and easy answer. I would say Finland, but like, I feel like Finland is I don't want to offend the Finns. I love Finland. Don't get me wrong. But, you know, I don't know if it's as exciting as a place like Sweden or as, you know, I don't know. But you get the point. Somewhere in Scandinavia, I wouldn't complain. I wouldn't care. The marshes, the marshlands of Denmark, you know, that would be fun. What's the difference between Mathis Preston, James Haggins, and Berkeley Catton in their draft years? That's a very good question. And I don't know if there's a tremendous amount of difference. I think Haggins was more physical. Like, the thing that I think went underreported about Haggins was just how physical his game became towards the end of last year, like after the World Juniors. I don't know if that lit a fire under him or something, but he felt a lot more comfortable, being a little more intense and pushing his weight a little bit more and really getting more involved. Oh my God. Shohei Ohtani blasted that. What a ridiculous athlete. What a ridiculous human being. That guy. Damn. That he got all of that one. But anyway, I think Preston and Catton are a little more similar. I think Preston has more pace and energy in his game than Catton, which is why I might give Preston the edge over Catton, even if Catton was a center. Catton was an exceptional puck mover, and I don't see that right now in Preston. Like, he's very creative, and I think the pure skill level is like exceptional, but I don't think he has the same sort of hockey sense that especially Catton, but also Hagens has. I think Preston is a bet on pure talent and skill. Like, I still see a lot of William Nylander in a guy like Mathis Preston, and that's fine by me. But I don't see that in Hagens and Catton. Like, I don't know exactly who I would compare those two guys to, but I don't think they're in the same vein, really. I don't know how to put, like, Hagens almost like a discount Jack Hughes, maybe something like that. Catton, I don't know off the top of my head, but I think there is a little bit of a difference. Someone said Ryan Lynn reminds them of Zeev Buium. Crazy sounding, or they're onto something? I don't see that really at all. I think Buium has a lot more explosiveness in his skating. I think Buium was way more deceptive in like a believable way, if you know what I mean. Like when Buium makes cuts and trips guys up and crosses them over, it's like I feel like more people would fall for it than Ryan Lynn trying those types of things. I think in terms of style of play, there are similarities. Like, Lynn is very aggressive offensively, and so is Zeev Buium, almost to a fault, I would say. But I trust Buium a lot more in those situations from what I remember of him when he was at college at this age than Ryan Lynn when he's in the WHL at this age. I've been having a hard time tracking down what I feel about Ryan Lynn and how I feel like he's going to project, but I still would put my money on Buium over Lynn, I think. Any World Junior roster hot takes, like some guys you think make it based on their starts? Very good question. I mean, we are quickly approaching that point, We are getting a lot closer to the World Juniors. I wish I could go this year. Last year was a lot of fun in Alberta, or in Ottawa. Let's see. Well, I guess it would be everybody under this age. Let's see. Less than or equal to 19.7, I believe, is the cutoff or so. That or thereabouts. The filter didn't work. Okay. $19.7. There it is. Let's flip over to this. We'll share. Let's share. So let's see who we got here. Kieran Walton. I think Kieran Walton could be a very good bet to be in camp and see if he makes the team. Part of Martin's off to a nice start. That's fun. I'm really glad Jacob Kvasnica is having this start to his season. I really liked him last year. I don't know about a BCHL guy on the U.S. national team, especially when he's not a D+2. Owen Griffin might be a guy that could give him a push. I was really impressed with him down the stretch last year, and he's been good this year when I've seen Oshawa. Who else? Edison Engel, I've really liked with Brantford. That might be a guy that might have an off chance of cracking the team. I hope John Mustard makes the team because he's also a lot of fun to watch. and he could be a good sort of bottom six center, I think, for or bottom six winger. Maybe I don't know, probably not a center if he's not listed as one, but bottom six guy for them maybe. But there's a lot of fun ones. There's a lot of fun ones here. There's a lot of interesting players here that all might, you know, get a good look. Yeah. Jimmy Lombardi is over a point a game. That's fun, but I don't know if that's like NHL or World Junior level. I don't know. There's some good ones though. It's gonna be fun. Any early stories in the 2025 draft class that's flying under the radar? Really good question. Let's see here. I mean, I'm going to go off of like what I mean, Adam Banach has been extremely good for Brantford. That team is a wagon, and he is a lot of fun to watch on that group. I'm trying to see like what is surprising to me. Shea Bush doing this well. I mean, I kind of liked him last year, but like a goal a game so far is pretty darn good. I've been pleased with what I've seen of Simon Wang in Oshawa. Like he seems to have taken a legitimate step, and he's getting more opportunity offensively, and I'm glad that that's happening. Yeah, I mean, what else? If there's anything here, other than that, like not a whole lot, honestly. Justin Carbonneau, 11 goals in 10 games. That sounds about right for Justin Carbonneau. But yeah, some good ones. Cameron Schmidt, 23 points in 14 games. Atta boy. Way to go. You would think that you'd think Michael Misa had like negative 10 points with the way people talk about him, but he's like, you know, he's on a 60 point pace after 5 games, you know, 5 whole games. We can make judgments. Do you have anyone earmarked? Ooh, Michael McDonald over the PA there. Nice. Nice. I like that. What a Fool Believes. Great song. Do you have someone earmarked as a late first round steal? Someone you really like who isn't on the mainstream radar? I mean, yeah. Who is on there? I mean, I haven't seen many people talking about Adam Anderson. Haven't seen many people talking about Landon Nitch. Verti Svensk, I adore. I got a text from an NHL person the other day who was like, yeah, we think he sucks. And I went, okay, yeah, cool. All right. Then I told him, I was like, oh, I think he's the most undervalued guy in the draft. And he's like, yeah, we think he sucks. And I went, okay, that proves my point. Like if I think he's really good, then he's real, and you think he sucks, then he's really undervalued. So yeah, there you go. But you know, we try to have fun around here. I mean, I'm really fascinated about Wiggo Sorensen. I mean, he was a W rating for Central Scouting, I think, and it's like Jurovsky, right? Like it's impossible. I think he got called. I think he got a call to go to the under-18 team in Sweden, which is going to be very interesting. I'll watch that and probably track him at those games because I ain't tracking Division II hockey. That's not happening. As much as I would love to, that's not happening. Oh God, this game is getting. Oh, yeah, there we go. Alejandro Kirk. That was a bullet from who's in right field there. That was sick. Al Barger. Yeah, what a cannon. Great throw. Yeah, I mean, but Wiggo Sorensen, like, he's a lot of fun to watch. I don't think anyone's ever going to get a chance to see him because he plays at that level. Barely any of his games hit the video services. But he is an exceptionally fun player to watch at that level. Like, he is a really skilled and agile, quick center who really knows how to command the game at that level. I would love to see him play in a different scenario, and we'll see where he stands at that point. I'll be watching closely, but he's one as well. You know, there's a few. I think this is an interesting group. Landon Hafley, the Scouching Discord server is starting to get on the bus with him as well. He's a really intriguing talent as well, even though he's one of the older guys, first-time eligibles in the draft this year. So there's some good ones available. You know, it's looking like a fun class. This is a fun group so far. Can you do your AJ impression and diagnose what the Toronto Maple Leafs need to do to fix their issues? Okay. It's actually pretty funny. Like, AJ and I have been talking about this because AJ, I love him, but he's having problems with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like, he is between, I don't know if it's between a rock and a hard place or if he just is a rock or a hard place right now, because he is struggling. He seems pretty confident that this team is actually pretty good and it's more a systems problem and that it's a fixable issue. But like, in my opinion, if you're saying that the problem is a systems issue, then that's a really big problem. Like that's like the fundamental approach to the game from the team is a problem. If that's something that you are having to look back on or look at and go, yeah, that's what needs to be dealt with, is the way the team plays. That's a struggle to, I think, have to make heads or tails on. But in my opinion, though, like, look, the Toronto Maple Leafs are a really good example of why I feel like the direction the modern NHL is going is not actually good hockey. Because they've gotten rid of all of their defensemen who can reliably transport the puck, and dependably do so under pressure, manage forechecking pressure. And the biggest thing is have some explosiveness in their own end, a quick first couple of steps in their own end. There just isn't that in Toronto. If you like, the thing that changed my mind was watching them play, and I'm doing this because AJ's Italian, so this is my impression. The Toronto Maple Leafs, when they played the New York Rangers, when you get hemmed in your own end by the New York Rangers for like 2 minutes, and it happens like 3 or 4 times in a game in which you are losing, and it is the third period, that's bad. Like that is not a systems thing to me. That is we have guys that can't close out a cycle. We have guys that can't get to loose pucks. Like the opposing team can just rim it around the boards and they know it's going to make it all the way around to the winger on the far side. They know they can get the inside lane on a guy below the goal line. Like, to me, that's a skating issue. That's a speed issue. And the NHL seems to be trending towards slowing things down, being more physical, so to speak. Whatever you want to call it, there just is nothing to like. But the thing about Toronto is, like, once the puck gets up the ice and starts going into the offensive zone, then yeah, you see the offensive ability. It's not a question of offense with Toronto. That's the thing. It's just that, and this was true last year statistically, they relied on their goaltending. They relied on Anthony Stolarz to be one of the best goalies in the league when he played. And when he is not playing, it is problematic, And so I don't know where that takes you. I don't know. But like, I can't help but look at this group and go, boy, I feel like they would look a little bit more comfortable with a guy, I said this last week and maybe paid for it, but a guy like a Liljegren or like a Sandin, someone with that, like Oliver Ekman-Larsson at 28 maybe would have been a good idea, but like, he just is not, like, he's a fine defenseman now, but he's just not what they need. He is adequate. And I don't think the Leafs can get away with being adequate. So I don't know. It's early in the year. I am a big believer in things that happen in the first 5-10 games of the year don't matter. It's 20. Like, 20 games is when you go, all right, here's where we're at. Here are what our problems are. We've had more than enough time to sort this out and we're still here. Or we've had more than enough time for us to actually become not good, but we keep winning. We're probably pretty good. Like, that's around the point where I start to have opinions on things. And, I'll see what happens, right? I'm willing to be wrong, but when I've watched the Leafs play this year, which is only, I'd say 2 or 3 times, I think 3 times, you get into their zone and you complete one pass, you can easily get 90 seconds of offensive zone time on them. And I feel like that's not a recipe for success, Nice. Runners on the corners, no outs. Let's go. Have you seen any Ernest a guy named Ernest, if this is a real person? Oh, yeah. Oh, now we're talking. Dubai Mighty Camels. I can't wait to bust out that jersey this year. Yeah, everybody's favorite UAE player, Ernest Kochorka from Yaroslavl, Russia. Oh wow, he's playing on the UAE team, the fastest growing team in hockey in the IHF World Rankings. He's 25 years old, so unfortunately not draft eligible, so I don't care. But look, if you can play for the Dubai Mighty Camels, you can play on my team any day. Let's go. Shout out to my local Romford Raiders. Yeah, Romford Raiders. Let's go. Oh, okay. So they play in the Scottish Junior League because they would have no opponents. Okay, that makes more sense. I believe that. Not that I don't believe you or wouldn't believe you, but I believe that. Is Kyle Dubas your spirit animal? No, because it's weird that a spirit animal would just be another human being, you know? Like that's just a guy that to me that's just like a person you look up to, like a human spirit animal, you know? It's like, oh, I model myself after this individual. You know, which Kyle Dubas, I mean, sure, like he's had the kind of career that I could never have dreamed of having to this point. And he's doing, I think, really good things in Pittsburgh. So yeah, sure. In that sense, sure. But my spirit animal is more like, I don't know, like a mole, like Monty Mole from Super Mario. Like I sneak around in the underground, like I work underground. I kind of like, you know, and no one ever really knows what I'm up to. But like, you know, if I get myself onto a golf course, the golf course is gonna wish that I wasn't there. You know, like that's kind of my kind of vibe. So there's that. Give us TJ Anderson Neal. I don't know what that means. Oh. That's 3. Big baby. Alejandro Kirk, baby. 3-run home run. Let's go. Winner, chicken dinner. TJ Anderson and Neil Anderson. I mean, TJ Anderson is a real person. Yeah, Romford Raiders legend. Yeah, let's go. Thoughts on Niels Bartholdson? Skilled, but that's about it, really. Like, I wish I'm going to watch more of him, but when I saw him, I was a little bit let down. I just felt like he was a guy that kind of got away with a lot thanks to his skill level. With a good supporting cast, maybe he could be a thing, but I don't know. He didn't really check a lot of the boxes for me, but I'm going to check back in on him. Would Anton Lundell be a realistic or overly optimistic projection for an Oliver Kapanen? Aren't they the same age? No. They're very close, though. Okay, so they're about a year and a half apart. I mean, in terms of style of play, I guess, like Kapanen to me, I always liked him, and I felt, yeah, like a bottom 6 center made sense, and Lundell, like a really good, like this, Lundell is a really good example of my kind of projections on a player actually making a lot of sense. Like, for me, he was always like, I could see him being a really good third line center on a contending team. I could see that based on how he plays, and he's really good at what he does and all that stuff. Kapanen was similar, but he didn't have the juice yet. He didn't have the same the same pace and energy and confidence that a Lundell had, and you know, but the smarts, especially on the puck with him, were really, really good. So it's good to see that he's evolved into what probably could be seen as a similar-ish tier level player to a Lundell. I would see him more as like on a really, really good Habs team, like a fourth line reliable center to have that can chip in offensively. I think that's reasonable. I think you might want someone else to add a little bit more up the middle to that team. Like, I don't think they're done yet, but Kapanen's a really good part. I think he's evolved into a really good player for them, and it's just a good bet on size. I mean, he did grow also, I think, quite a bit since being drafted, which also was an advantage. Like, that wasn't obvious at the time that that's what was going to happen, and he, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of instant or evidence that was going to happen. But he kind of has evolved around that, like, really smart style of play, and it's worked so far. Every time I watch Adam Novotny, I think he would look great in the middle. Thoughts? Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I feel like he is a better open ice player than like along the boards. But yeah, I mean, I love the skating ability with him. I can't say I know what he would look like at that position because I've never seen him play there. But oh yeah, line drive, let's go. Barging through. Let's do the thing. Yeah, but I would like to see it experimented with, but he's playing with Colin Fitzgerald, which I feel like they're not going to take him away from playing center. He's just Colin Fitzgerald is too good of an example of a OHL top center like that. Just especially in Peterborough, like just a physical, decent all around dude who can play hockey pretty well, you know. And a guy like Novotny can have a lot of fun. Nice hit. What a hit. Attaboy. Verti ? Yes, that's the answer. Yes. Have you seen Porter Martone with MSU this year? And if you have, what have you thought about his transition to the NCAA so far? I have not, actually. I haven't seen any MSU this year. I will at some point. I haven't spent as much time as I want, watching just video on guys that have already been drafted. Like around this time of the year, I'm still really digging into the draft eligibles. When I'm lying on the couch, bloodshot eyes and decrepit looking at my MacBook Air, I am watching draft eligibles, and trying to get a good lay of the land there and seeing like, okay, who am I going to add to the list? Who am I going to make sure I don't forget about? Blah, 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 blah. The drafted guys, I just don't really have the time all that much to watch right now. Once I start to whittle things down and find the group of guys that I want to focus on, then I might sort of mess around and watch a little bit more NHL guys. But at this point in the season, it's really just the conveyor belt is full speed in the terminal, taking me to the gates that draft eligibles are at. Another looper into the right field there. Always going to third. Yeah, you are. We ain't dead yet. These Blue Jays ain't done yet. Let's go. Seinfeld voice. What's the deal with Linus Eriksson? Oh my God. What's the deal? Yeah, 15 games, 1 goal. He sucks. I mean, like, I don't know. To me, Linus Eriksson is always like he's playing 10 minutes a night, right? Like he's not playing very much. He's on their 4th line or 3rd line, I think. I think with Eriksson, it's always, I think his game does translate to North America pretty well, like the pro level. I think he's a long-term bet. And I think with Eriksson, the big thing with him always is what is his I always felt like he was kind of a bottom 6 guy. Like I never thought he was a top 6 guy. I thought he was reasonably a good, solid 3rd line center who plays physical, plays hard, might not be 4-2 Jays. Let's go. But he might just be taking a while to develop. I've seen a little bit of him this year. I watched some Alphonse Frey because he also sucks because he has no points this year. I don't think he might have 1, but he sucks now, so that's great. But I was watching him to see if he sucks, and I don't think he does. But like the thing is, like scoring in Sweden is also really tough a lot of the times. Especially if you're not put in like a power play situation or a more high in the lineup situation, and as a center too, it's a lot of work. If you're a center, like it's a lot of skating at that level. It's a fast league. So I don't know. I think that he's a guy where it's like, it almost doesn't matter to me how he plays in Sweden. I am willing to bet that once he comes over, if the Panthers put him, he's only 19. Once you put him in the AHL or something and you see what he can do, I think he could blossom down there just because I think he thrives in a faster, like a physical environment, and just chipping in and doing all those things really well. Like he's smart, and that's the big thing. Like the thing I liked about him, the combination of speed, smarts, and like bits of skill here and there and physicality. Like all of those things in conjunction, I went, you can work with this, right? Like he might not have the finesse to like attack the middle and be a line driver in the offensive zone, but you're going to get decent results out of him overall. And, we'll see where he goes from here. I'm not willing to jump off the wagon yet. But we'll see, I don't think it's over for him at all. Celebrini is trending to be an all-time player like Joe Sakic, Jack Hextall. I don't know what that means. Is that because I mentioned the two in the same breath? I'm just saying they're both really, really smart, and that's what they led with when they played. That's all. You can relax. It's okay. Any thoughts on Ryland Singh and Guelph? He's all right. I mean, I've seen a bit of him this year. I've seen Guelph here and there. I like his puck moving ability. I have him on the list to track. I haven't done it yet. He's been a guy that's kind of like, he's one of those guys where it's like, is he good enough to hit the list? He might just be one of these more talented. Oh, Magic Johnson. He might be one of the more talented players that just isn't on my list because I don't know if it's going to be enough to make it work in the NHL, but I'm willing to be wrong and I'll check him out and I'll know more about him in the future. But, here and there I've seen him. I haven't been, blown away considering he's an 07. But he might just be a guy that's down the board for me at the end of the year. I'm not as familiar with him as I am other guys, and what I've seen hasn't really moved the needle enough for me. Just to follow up on the stats, I'm currently doing a PhD in epidemiology and I teach stats to undergrad. I consider myself more of a user and not an expert, but the field is always evolving. Do you have any fun ideas for side projects or theses worth testing as a fun side project? That's a really good question. I mean, good for you for doing a PhD in epidemiology. I loved epidemiology classes in university. They were a lot of fun. Obviously not for the subjects of the people that we were studying. It's like, oh yeah, these people were all diseased and ill and they didn't know why. And, like the whole thing about, the classic epidemiology story is the cholera epidemic in London, whenever that was, in the 1800s or something. And they didn't know why everybody was getting cholera. And then one guy was like, why don't we just like take a map of London and just paint the areas where people have cholera and see if there's a trend. And sure enough, it was like one well that had been poisoned, or not poisoned, but like contaminated with a bacterium that causes cholera. And so then it was like, oh, now we know. So yes, sometimes science is good. Sometimes experts and science and stuff is a good thing. Believe it or not. And evidence is important. And so it's good to learn about what that means and how to do good science. But anyway, in terms of side projects, it's tough because I don't like, if you can scrape NHL play-by-play data, there's a lot you can play around with there, I think. It's just, I wish that, it was easier to access the kinds of data that I track on a grand scale league-wide, but that's not possible unless you have a SportLogic account, which I doubt that most people do. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, a fun side project, because it's tough because you don't have that data. But I was going to say, like, I've done a little bit about this, but like the structural differences in style of play between Europe and North America, like a lot of people yap about it, but I don't think a lot of people have really explored exactly what is different and actually done the work to mathematically show what the differences are. And in my work, there's actually fewer differences than you might think. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I mean, it's a really good question. I don't know. I don't really know. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know a good answer to that. Anton Frondell is playing great in the SHL. Yes. If you put him on the wing and play him a lot, he will score. Are people actually talking smack about Michael Misa? I mean, I've seen a lot of people like going, oh, he's not playing. Oh, he's on the third line. He's a fourth line winger. He's gonna I mean, again, like my whole thing is like, for your own sake, please give yourself a break and just let things happen. We live in a world of instantaneousness, if that's a word. He's here to or he's here. I'm reading Alfredo's comment here. Producer AJ is here. But I mean, yeah, it's all about, we live in a world of instantaneousness and everybody wants results immediately and everybody wants everything to happen right away. And these things don't happen right away. You got to be patient. You gotta believe. But the thing with Michael Misa last year was he's a very, 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 very good player, but he has some gaps, and a lot of those gaps are physical in nature. That sort of energy level that people were criticizing him for last year, I think they were doing so rightfully, but I didn't really care all that much. I thought he was going to be a player where eventually he'll figure it out and everything will be fine. And yeah, I mean, he was also a player where I figured that, I didn't think he would be an NHL player right away. I figured like with the new rules, he'd be a perfect candidate to go to college for a season or so. But I mean, San Jose seems to be a perfect spot for a guy like him because they, I hope they turn a corner and become a pretty good team this year, or a decent team, at least offensively. But I would like, but for him, it's like I would always be curious to see him. It was all about like they put him in the lineup and see what happens with him, right? And at the end of the day, if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, you keep patting him on the back and going, look, you're learning. We're not here to we're not here to expect everything out of you right away. But, we want to see growth, and like we want you to get more comfortable, and like that might take time, and you might have some frustrating games and some frustrating shifts and whatever, but like we're not holding it against you. We're doing this and this. Like it's all like that to me is player development, right? Like it's about how you communicate and how you work with these guys. How would you want to be talked to, right? Not everybody has the same answer, Like if Michael Misa says, I would rather you be a hard ass to me because I respond well to that, I go, okay, I can do that. But if he goes, I would rather you be calm and careful and walk me through it because whatever, I go, okay, like I'll do that too. There's no one size fits all for everybody. It's not kitten mittens up in here. It's not one size fits all. So I think the Sharks are going about it pretty well. And you got to be patient. You got to give guys time. Does Håkansson remind you of Ekholm? Now that's a very good question. I can see that. I can see that. I see a really good defensive defenseman in Håkansson. I'm surprised he's in the SHL right away and playing some good minutes too. But he is a meanie pants. Like, I mean, he's also a big boy. That is a big boy out there. Like I can see NHL teams. Like what was he ranked on Central Scouting? Was he an A? He's a B. So second, third round pick. I mean, I see where they're coming from on that, but I like him a lot. He is a real jerk out there on the ice. He's a decent skater as well for his size. Like, and I think the thing about Håkansson that I really am intrigued by is I think with some good, like if a team is drafting him and going, we think you're Radko Gudas, I'd go, yeah, okay, I see where you're coming from on that. Fair enough. He had some decent defensive years and he's the captain of an NHL team, sure. But on the flip side, I go, yeah, but what else could he be? Because the way he plays and the way he wants to play with the puck and the way that he kind of carries the puck and all that stuff, it's clunky and weird. Like the skating is okay, but the skill level is a little flimsy and it's a little bit kind of gritting your teeth type thing. But to me, that's a thing that you can work on and you can practice and hopefully have him get more comfortable and better at. And if that happens, like there could be a pretty decent thing to unlock there with him. I've liked him. And I just, again, like I really like the physical edge in his game. I really like how he uses it. And yeah, like there is value in guys like that. I don't mind guys that play like that, no matter what people say. It's just I want them to be like good at the sport. And I think Håkansson is a decent example of that, right? Like the type of defenseman that I would pair on my team Scouching with some of the more undersized guys that I've got to be more of an insulator, Like that's kind of the style of play that he is. Yeah, like his defensive metrics in the game that I did were really, really good. It's just a matter of like rounding things out, and I think there's upside. And if he hits that upside, I think there could be really good stuff there. Sidney Crosby now has 1,701 career points, and the Penguins win again. Pittsburgh back. man, playing the parade. The Penguins are off to a ripping start here. I mean, it's kind of mind blowing. Like they are like, what's their record now? It must be like 8-1, 8-2, maybe not, but I don't think anybody expected this. And I'm as charitable to Kyle Dubas as anybody, probably especially in the Greater Toronto area. I was about to say Grand Theft Auto, but it's not. I don't live in Liberty City. I live in Toronto. Stay in reality, Will. But yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh. Well, popping 6 on St. Louis seems to be something everybody's doing these days. Like the St. Louis Blues? Like they're down bad. Like they won against Dallas. They got popped for. Oh my God. Yeah. So they got popped for 6 today. They got popped for 6 against Detroit. They got popped for 7 against Utah. They lost to the Kings in overtime. They beat the Stars in a reasonably scored game. They got popped for 8 by Chicago. Then they won, and like they've had a bit of a struggling season so far. Like has there been any other team allowing more goals than the St. Louis Blues? Let's see. The Sharks are up to 42. Where's St. Louis? 39. So the Sharks have given up more goals in the same amount of games. That's problematic. The Bruins are close, but they've played more games. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's San Jose. So I guess Minnesota is also right there too. Yikes. Not a great season for St. Louis. But Pittsburgh, on the other hand, yeah, they're 7-3, 7-2-1. That's better than I thought they would be. I think everybody that's what I love about this season is it seems like already like a lot of teams are scrambled in ways that I don't think anybody expected. Like Utah is at the top of the West right now, which I didn't have on my bingo card this far in. Seattle Kraken are in the middle of the conference. Like Edmonton is not in a playoff spot. Granted, it's very early. Chicago is. Minnesota is near the bottom. St. Louis near the bottom. You know, Ottawa is in a playoff spot, but like Detroit is in a playoff spot. The Canadians are 3rd in the conference. Toronto is 12th. Yeah, Tampa, the Atlantic Division, man, they're down bad. Unless you're Montreal. Then you're having a good time. And you are having a good time if you're a Habs fan. If you're not having a good time as a Habs fan, you know, you need to smile more because gee whiz. What a time to be alive if you're a Habs fan. Very exciting team to watch. I'm not completely against paying for data, yours or otherwise. Well, that's great. I mean, that's great. Sportlogic is probably a little outside your budget. I don't know you personally, but I think it's like $100-something thousand license a year. So I don't think you want to do that. Yeah, I mean, you know, feel free to DM me. I have some, we can, you know, for the sake of academics, you know, maybe I can help you out. You know, maybe there's something we can do, an agreement we could come to some extent, you know, and see what we can do. Because I'm always a fan of encouraging academia, encouraging independent study, you know, all that good stuff, AJ, J-Mo, by the way, AJ, he's not sending chats from his work's bathroom unless he's at home in his bathroom, because I think he's at home right now. AJ, you can feel free to tell me if I'm wrong, but yeah. All right. If hockey was Survivor, who are you projecting to win it all? Oh. Well, the thing about Survivor and picking winners is it's the people you kind of least suspect a lot of the time. And it's the people who everybody just kind of likes nowadays. Like, it's not so much about, you know, it seems like modern Survivor voting from the jury just comes down to who do you like? You know, who is just a nice person? Who has been a person that you can just get along with and strategize with, and you just like them? Because the strategic masterminds, if they don't become targets, they are seen as arrogant at the end of the game. You know, they're like, well, I did this and I did this and I played the game this way and I did this and I did this, and that's why I should win. And the jury goes, yeah, but you hurt our feelings. Like, yeah, but like yes, but like, didn't you think about how that would make us feel? You know? And they go, well, this person was just really nice the whole time and really great to get along with, and everybody liked them, and we talked poopy about you while we were at Ponderosa, you know, while we were there, and nobody really had that many good things to say about you as a person, so we just went with the person we liked, which is cool. So in the context of the National Hockey League, you know, I mean, looking at the standings right now, I mean, I feel like New Jersey could be up there. Montreal, you know, I just like them. The Montreal Canadiens, I just like them. I don't know if they're a top contending team, but they might be that Gabler. If you're a Survivor fan, he might be one of those Gabler types where it's like, okay, they're still hanging around. It's February, they're still here. It's episode 9, it's episode 10, it's 11. Like, how is this person still here? How are they still top of the conference? They go to the playoffs. They play Ottawa Senators. They beat the Senators. You're going, how is this physically possible? They just keep going. You know, I could see that being a trajectory, you know, as of today, if we're talking Survivor archetypes for Montreal or New Jersey. But you kind of want someone that's like believable, kind of under the radar, but like middle of the pack. And to me, like, you don't want to, I don't know if this is, you know, this might be a dangerous one to throw out there, but like, I don't want people to forget about, like, you know, Vegas has a pretty good looking team, you know, recent transactions that they may have made that are controversial aside. That's a pretty decent looking hockey team, and they're doing well. Colorado's a team that I think are also like, you might want to buy the dip. You know, the talk on Colorado is kind of softened a little bit, but that's a team that I think is really, really fun to watch. And they're not perfect, but they've got some good parts to deal with. I think their power play is just kind of a weak point, and you know, you can work around that. You got the talent to make it work. So yeah, I mean, maybe those guys. You know, like I feel like Carolina, if you're talking Survivor archetype, is the physical threat. Like, they're just always gonna get to the jury, but like, they're obviously going home at some point, like the Jonathans of the world, where it's like, you can't, as soon as we get the opportunity, we're obviously getting rid of you. Like, it's just, that's how it's gonna go. That being said, I'm hopeful for Carolina. I always am. You know, I think they're a good team, and you know, but we're talking Survivor here. We're not. You know, we're just having fun. You know, we're just having some fun. And yes, I agree. Misa's been quite solid. 11 minutes a night at center. That's where he should be. Honestly, shelter him, play him at center. Shelter him, play him at center. You know, that's really it. And just let him grow. You know, you planted the bulb. You're watering the plant. You know, you've fertilized it. You're giving him an opportunity. You're incubating him pretty well. You just got to give it time. It's slow. He might be a slow growing plant, but pretty much every young hockey player in the National Hockey League is these days. It seems it's really hard to be good in the National Hockey League, and I think it's harder than ever to be really good in the National Hockey League. And yeah, I'm not worried. I think Ducks are all right. You didn't write the first part. I don't know who you mean by him. How do you see him slotting into the group? I don't know who that is. I don't think you sent a previous message, so I don't know. But I'll answer your question awesomely. The term hockey IQ seems to vary in definition depending on who you ask. Could you elaborate on what you look for when identifying that in a prospect? Yeah, of course. It does vary, and it's very catch-all, and I don't like that about it. But here's how I see it. For me, it is overall sort of engagement and awareness. Like, are you lackadaisical on the ice, right? That's number one. If you are sort of absent, floaty, wandering around, just sort of not super active, to me, you're not really in the game all that much. But that's only one side of it. I'd say the other one is awareness. And I think the awareness of like, I know this word will make people laugh because, you know, we're all kids at heart, I think, in this server and in this channel and whatever. But like, psychologically speaking, the term would probably be like arousal. Like, how mentally active are you when you're performing an activity, right? Like, how are you seeing the ice? How are you working with your teammates? Like, that's the biggest thing to me, is I want to look for guys that play with their teammates really, really well. Are they recognizing options? Are they playing within a structure? Are they making the right decisions? You know, things like breakout passing, like a breakout pass to an open man on an exit versus just trying to carry it into a defenseman thinking you can plow right through them, right? It's like, are they making the plays that are being presented to them, right? Like, I love players who, and I think this is a big thing that like Kyle Dubas and the Dubas and Clark connection really, really like. I know for a fact that when they were in Toronto, they did a lot of video analysis with the guys that they were interested in and took into account how they broke video down themselves and like what they were thinking as they did stuff. So it's like, those are the type, like, if you had a player who's like, I don't know, I just kind of like had the puck and went for it. It's like, well, okay, but like, you can't really do that all the time in the NHL. You it's not really that easy to do. So for me, like, it's probably better to think of like an example of a Berkeley Catton, right? I think he's a great example of like elite hockey sense, where on breakouts, it wasn't that he was faster than everyone. It wasn't that he was deking everybody out. It wasn't like a talent thing all the time. He is very talented, but it wasn't a talent thing that like was really making a difference. But it was like his ability to, on a breakout, for example, find open ice to play with, to make options for himself, to find an open man, hit them with an accurate pass, and support them on a breakout. Like, it was recognizing forechecking pressure, stopping up, you know, working around it and making a play to keep possession. You know, and it's why I track the data that I do, because I want to see the success rate on guys when they are in those key situations. Like, getting the puck out of your zone is very important, and doing it with control is a really nice bonus, right? You can get away with it. You can get away with dump and chase hockey, but you got to chase it and you got to get it back. You got to physically exert yourself in order to do it. So it's a bonus if you can do it with possession. If you don't chase after you dump it in and go get it, you're the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that's a problem. Like, to me, it's more a matter of like, awareness, you know, and it's a matter of like, if I'm looking at what happened on the ice and what the player is seeing, are they making the play that does the most right thing for that specific scenario, right? Like, are they looking, like, if, for example, like, nothing drives me more nuts than if a winger is breaking out on a breakout, the center's got the puck or the other winger's got the puck, they're wide open at the offensive blue line, they're open for a stretch pass, right, whatever, and nobody passes it to them. They just carry it at 5 miles an hour up the ice and dump it in, and then he's standing there on the blue line, like, open. And it's like, there's an opportunity there that you ignored for one reason or another, and now that person who has momentum, that player who has that energy and that ability to put defensemen on their heels, is now motionless at the offensive blue line because they can't go offside. You know, it's like, that's obviously one example of many different things, but for me, it's about making plays, awareness of where your line mates are, making clean possession focused plays. And it's an extra bonus if you can do it under pressure, right? Like, you stay calm, you stay aware, you don't just panic and chip it into their feet or just whatever. If you can find a way to make a play and find a way out of a jam, and avoid them in the first place as best as you can, then that's great. Then that is great. So that's a lot of it. That's a lot of where I come from on that. That's my view on it. Macklin Celebrini, great example. I guess that also touches on another thing, is like the off puck thing too, right? Like, it's one thing to be a really aggressive forechecker, but that's not necessarily what Macklin Celebrini is. Like, he's a really good forechecker, but not because he is super physical and pins you, right? Like, it's because of the angling, like the way that he kind of comes at you, the kind of way that he reads your body language and reads where the puck might go, and how he puts his stick, and like those little subtle things can really make a difference when they add up. And Celebrini's off puck defending was a big reason why I had him at number 1 that year, because he just always felt so comfortable. And it's like, he may not be the fastest guy on the ice, he may not be the most skilled guy on the ice right now, but he has so much in the hockey sense area that is both on and off the puck that's really, really beneficial for his game. So like, those are the types of things that I'm really, really looking for, right? Like, how would I want the game to ideally be played? And a lot of it circles around possession. How is the best way to maintain possession? You have to have smart, aware players who can see the ice well, scan, recognize options, play as a unit, do that whole thing, support their line mates, all that fun stuff. All those things in conjunction are kind of how I see that side of the game. I think you're in the Discord server, so if you want maybe a more concise explanation or something, like, just ask. But like, that's kind of where I come from. It's wordy because it's very nuanced, I think, but I hope I got my point across. And if not, tell me so that I can give the whole spiel again. Have you noticed any big fun centers like Walton this year? Is Anderson similar? I mean, Walton in his draft year didn't play a ton of center, I don't think, if I recall correctly. But I see where you're coming from. I mean, like, big and like big fun. I mean, Oliver Suvanto is big and fun. He's not like the skilled finisher that Walton is, but he is a player, man. That guy is an interesting player. Really intriguing player. But probably not what you're asking for. I think what you might be asking for, you mentioned Adam Anderson. Like, I'm not sure, because again, like, Walton was just a riot. Like, he was just so much fun to watch and so skilled. Like, we just talked about hockey IQ. That was a major area where I was questionable about him. Like, he was very individually talented and did a lot of stuff on his own and really tried to do a lot on his own, and it drove me a little crazy. But a fun big center. It's a good question. There's not a ton of this season so far. There's not a ton of really, really good, like, skilled centers. I don't think there's not a whole lot of them, let alone big ones. So you know what? Maybe Suvanto is the answer there. Who else? I kind of like the kid. There's a kid in Muskegon who I've seen. I don't know if he's on the same level as a Kieran Walton, but Rudolfs Burskalns, the Latvian guy there, he's really big and a really powerful skater. Like, I think he's a really interesting player that I haven't gotten a detailed look at yet, but he's on the list. And because I was watching Muskegon the other day to see Tynan Lawrence and check out some of the other guys on that team because they're fun to watch. And he was looking interesting there. I'm surprised he's not scoring more than he does. Honestly, I might also throw Maddox Dagenet into that discussion. Like, again, he's not the skilled guy that I think Walton is. He's not the finisher type that Walton is, but like, you see little moments with him. Like, with Maddox Dagenet, I sat and watched him and I went, I could see how you could be an NHL player. I think it's entirely possible. That I think there's a really intriguing player there. But it's just not quite there yet. But then when it shows up, that the toe drags, the skill level, the physical play, the speed in his game that he's got, that I would really love to see just turned up a notch, and on display a little bit more dependably. Because he is a fun player and he's got some skill, and I think he's a guy that might be a good development case. As much as I love Adam Anderson, though, I do love my Adam Anderson quite a bit. He's a very, very interesting player. You were okay. So you were asking about Herman Truff. Yeah, I mean, Herman Truff, the thing about him is I still feel similar, right? Like when he was a draft eligible, he played at all three levels of Swedish hockey that season, which was really interesting. Not many guys do that. Like he played junior hockey and you saw what he was there. You saw him at the Hockeyallsvenskan level, which he was really good. And you saw him at the SHL level. And you saw a very intriguing insight into the type of player that he was and is, and how various things work or don't work for him at those levels. And so for him to be in the second division and be very comfortable and a big difference maker there, it doesn't really surprise me because he was as a draft eligible. Like I'm still very surprised at how late he went in the draft considering how he plays. Like it makes me think people just didn't watch him. Because I mean, again, the Ducks drafted him, of course, but like, or the Devils drafted him, but they you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm talking about. So for me, it's more a matter of like with him, it was like he's got all the tools, big, skilled, really physical, strong on his feet, like a lot of things working in his favor. So for me to see him be a solid player at the men's level is pretty, solid to me. Do I think he's a top 6 guy in the Ducks? I don't think so, but to me, that's a good thing. Like the Ducks have a lot of young offensive talent to play around with. And that's great, right? Like they have all the fun toys that they could want. Seneca's on the team. Cutter Gauthier is there. Like they have a lot of those offensive guys right now. And maybe Truff is a guy that can augment those players. Like maybe he can share the ice with them and sort of play a different role. I could see that. And that would make him a top 6 player for sure. But like a top 9 sort of jack of all trades winger who can play in a lot of different areas, I can see that. Entirely possibly. By the way, shout out Max Scherzer, 41 years old or whatever. Nice game from him. Not perfect, but he's getting the job done. What a guy. I only wish I could be that cool at 41, but it's impossible because I don't have heterochromia. So, darn. That is one thing. That is one defect. Well, I shouldn't say defect. That is one little tweak of the human body that I wish I had. Heterochromia. Because you cannot tell me that is not cool. So there's that. But yes, I like Herman Truff quite a lot. There you go. Am I still somewhat high on him though? Yes, I am. I do really like him. I felt he was at the end of my first round, right? Like I felt relatively confident that he would be a top 9, bottom 6 diverse player. And that's what he's on track to, I think, be potentially one day. Now, Hockeyallsvenskan is not the NHL, but I can very easily see him taking step after step after step, and in a couple of years, playing a role for the Ducks. I can very easily see it. Looking at their pyramid or their pipeline, I can see it. David Phillips, I'm curious on the goalies you've enjoyed. Oh, yeah. I actually was watching goalies the other night, David. I should have told you. I forgot, but... who are the goalies here that I've been noting the most? All right. Who's on the list? So I have 10. Oh, no, 12. 12? Really? 12? Well, I've got 12 on the list here, and I'll tell you who they are. Yeah. So at the top, Yegor Rybkin. Dude, I love Yegor Rybkin. I honestly, like, he's on the short list. I made my first short list for the year, so it's extremely early, but I just wanted to. Again, degenerated, decroded, on the couch, in the dark, way too late, should be in bed. Why not watch a bunch of goalie tape and put together a list of guys that maybe are targets for the draft this year? Why not, right? Like, why not? This is how I live. This is my life. Please don't tell people how I live. Quoting Lenny Carlson there. Please don't tell people how I live. But that's how I live. So yeah, Yegor Rybkin is the top one on my list right now. Damn. The Blue Jays bullpen, man. Unbelievable. The other one, Dmitry Borachev, I liked when I saw him. Brady Noling, I like with the NTDP. Yermolenko, the Ice Dogs goaltender, is, I think, really good. Like, he's been really good for them, I think. I like the Seattle guy, Marek Sklenichka. He's an import and young and big, and the team in front of him is not very good, but he's doing pretty well, I think. Harrison Bodiger in Kelowna is also pretty decent. I've got my French boy, Martin Netcash on there. That guy is in the Swiss League again, the second division in Switzerland, with a 952 save percentage. Maybe this time around an NHL team will draft him, but he's 6 feet tall, so probably not. But he's in another year with that division league there, and I hope he gets a call up to the National League, because every time I see him, I'm like, God, that guy, I love this guy. Like, just the athleticism that he's got. I've always really, really liked him, and I'm glad he's doing so well this year. The other ones, Dmitry Ivchenko, the Omsk kid, I like. Matvey Karbinov with St. Petersburg, not bad for facing 37 shots a game. A lot of Russians, but that's par for the course. Russia seems to know what they're doing with goaltenders. I've seen Russian practices. It's almost impossible that you don't become a good goaltender in Russia because of how they run their practices, because they make no sense and it's chaos and it's nonsense. And I agree. Rybkin is a guy where he's either going to be fantastic or he's going to not be fantastic, and there's no in between. But I believe in the hype, because he's humongous, but also athletic, and I think he tracks play well. I think he gets across the ice well. I think he's doing a lot of stuff. Well, you know. Grav is here. Hello, sir. A good hockey season to you, my friend. A good October to you. Happy Halloween. I was gonna make a joke about the Dodgers, but you're not a California guy. I thought you were for a split second, but you're not. You were a Texas/Wisconsin guy, I believe. You know, so you escaped me this time. So I'll keep it positive. I'll keep it a buck. A buck 50. Is that what they say? Is that what the children say anymore? Oh, anyway, are there more? Oh yeah, František Politin. I haven't really loved him, but like, he's intriguing. I don't know. I've never really been blown away with him though. Sergei Gorbunov, another Russian. Nikolai Skryabkin, Xavier Wendt, I like in Tri-City, and any Tri-City goaltender is good in my book, because the team in front of him is woof. He's facing a lot of pucks, and yeah. He's going to get practice. That's it. That's the 12 that I have on the list. 13 I have on the list. I'm looking if there's anyone else I'm curious about, but I mean, not really. There's a kid, this poor kid playing in Czechia, is facing 40 shots a game. Adam Mustafa. That's a fair ball. Oh boy, tie game. Darn. But those are the ones that have stuck out to me so far. I haven't gone through all of them, but like, those are the ones that I keep going back to and checking out that I've liked. Yeah, you love the McKenna ranking, eh? Yeah, you do. No Trable. I have not seen him yet. Tobias Travel. Yeah, he is on the list. I haven't seen him yet. I think he was a guy that started playing a little late, but I'll add him to my my watch list tab group here. There we go. There, I'll throw him on later. How about that? And we'll see. But I can't tell you. I haven't seen him. But an 896 save percentage facing 22 shots a night is automatically bad. So maybe I don't need to watch him. So a lot of the talk around Celebrini is he was undersold during his draft year. Agree or disagree? I don't know about that. I mean, I think it's still early in the year, right? Like, he is, I mean, I'm not denying that he's had a great year, right? I mean, I think with him, I do think he looked a lot better last year than I expected. He looked way more comfortable in the NHL than I expected. Like, how many shots on goal does he have this year? 10, 18, 19, 20, 21. So he's got 24 shots on goal. He's scoring on 25% of them, right? Like, that's not gonna hold, right? Like, a reasonable shooting percentage is maybe 12 to 15% if you're really good. So that's, normally he probably would have something like 3 or 4 goals this year. Not that like removes a whole lot from his production. It's like, oh, now he's bad, but it's like, I think that what he was I think that people got what he was right, but I don't think people quite, got the growth in his game that came. I think people undersold like the how quickly he would evolve and grow, get quicker, more skilled and confident. Like the confidence that he's got is really, really strong. And I think a lot of that comes down to who he plays with. And like the fact that he does have really creative and offensive guys to play with and to be around, right? Like Will Smith and William Eklund and, even a Tyler Toffoli and all that. Like he's got tools to play with. He's got toys in the cupboard that are also in his wheelhouse, right? And that feeds on each other. That feeds on everything, right? Like if it were him on, the Chicago Blackhawks instead of Connor Bedard, would I think he had 15 points in 9 games at this point? Like, I'm not sure. I don't think so. Maybe, but I don't know. But I mean, I don't think anybody was like down on him. Yeah, like I don't think anybody was really like down on him, especially because he played so well with Boston U. And like in 2024, was there anybody that I had even close to him in that year? Let's see. Yeah, I had Demidov. Like it was him and Demidov. And I feel pretty good about that. Like I don't think any of these guys behind him that I had on my list could come close to touching him. Like I just don't, So him, and I think now that we see Demidov in the NHL, I think that's fair. Like I think you look at what Demidov has done with Montreal. I had Celebrini 1. The only other guy I would have even remotely considered was Demidov, and yeah. The end of my report on him at the end of the year, it was a really quick report because everybody had been talking about him nonstop. But my last sentence on him that I wrote was, any improvements to his skill, speed, strength, and creativity will only elevate his game. And I think that's exactly what has happened. US is a hell show for goalies. Yeah, fair enough. Have you informed the people of Jesus? Yes, actually. I've spread the word of the Lord. Svenska or Hostai. Not Hostin so much, but Svenska will not shut up. I will never shut up about Hostin. I think he is or I'll never shut up about Verti Svensk. I think he's very solid, very good, and a very good boy. W ranking be damned. We'll see. Time will tell, but I think he's really good. And Hostin, also pretty good, but League Magnus, we'll see where it goes. I don't know. I'm curious to see him. On that note, I think we're going to call it. We're past 10 p.m. We're past about halfway in the Blue Jay game. The game that the Blue Jays are definitely going to win. Going to call it now. So unless anyone has any very last minute questions they want to get in, now's the time, but I'm going to call it. This was great. Thank you very much for joining me. Again, AJ will be here Thursday, he said, but then that will be it for a while, and you get me. That's all you get for a while is me. And, I'll see if I can maybe drag some loser friends of mine onto the show to talk some nonsense for a while or something. Or if y'all have any ideas or suggestions of what you might want to see on one of these for the next little while, please do so. In about a month, I also will be away for a couple of weeks. I'm going on vacation. My dad turned 70, so we're going on a little jaunt for a few weeks, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So let's pack as much as we can into the next few weeks and have some fun. So with that, I don't see anything coming in on the chat here, so we're going to call it. Thanks for joining me. Have a lovely remainder of the evening. Go Jays, go. I got to go get my hat, which I threw over there. And yeah, have a great one. You're great. All the best. Stay safe. Be nice to people. Just be chilling, man. Just being chilling forever. All right.